time. Now, item number 4, I don't think I've worded it quite the way that everybody would like, but the question is, right now there are dues for chapters, there are dues for CGJA, and for somebody just coming off a jury, that can be confusing because they don't realize there's 2 separate organizations they have to pay dues to. And I guess the question is, first, do we think that's a big issue? And if we think it's a big issue, do we have suggestions on what we might do about it? Does that summarize the, you asked about that? So I guess first off, if you all think back to when you first came off the jury and were faced with this issue of chapter CGJA, I know that I, for one, was confused about that, and it took me about 1.5 years before I realized I was not a member of CGJA. I was only a member of my chapter. But I eventually got there. So how many people think this is an issue? Okay, we've got maybe 5 people, 6 people. So it's a bit of an issue.
Are the dues based on size of the chapter?
No, dues to CGJA are flat rate. They're individual. It's $30 for 1 year, $25 per year if it's more than one.
No, the chapter.
Chapter dues, the chapter set, they're all different.
By size?
By what the chapter decides they want their dues to be.
I'm talking about to be affiliated with CGJA.
There's no dues from the chapter. There's only individual. The chapters don't pay CGJA anything.
Okay.
Individual members pay CGJA only. But that's an idea for fundraising.
I thought that's why they were going independent. Maybe they didn't want to pay the dues.
No, that wasn't it.
It would help if I knew who in my chapter is a member of CGJA.
All you have to do is send me an email asking that information, and I will give it to you. That's something that a president of a chapter can do.
Well, that's fine, but why should I have to remember to do that?
Because I
I'm
don't.
busy.
Well,
I mean,
we've got 26 chapters, and only 5 of them want to know.
To be the president.
Well, we don't always know if you're the president. So you could step down and then you keep getting these addresses that are, you keep getting the list and it really shouldn't be coming to you. If you want to know, ask. Yeah.
We do have certain requirements that are protected because of the California Corporations Code as to who we give information to. And I understand that for generally, like if a member, for example, just wanted to have a list for whatever purpose, and this has happened, that as secretary, I would be the one that would look into whether I could give that to you. And so there are certain requirements for that. But we certainly now we have in our procedures manual that any president who wants a copy of that, you would get that. And we could look at whether the code would allow it more broadly, but we're very protective of this membership list because we say to people at the beginning that you're not going to be inundated. We're not putting you on Amazon's list or anything like that. We're not selling the mailing list, so that we're just very cautious on that.
I understand, and that's a very valid point. But am I not also correct that in order to be a part of this, you have to have 5 members?
Yes. And if you don't have 5 members, it's my job as the chair of MRC to be contacting you to do something about that.
I understand, okay. But I should be working on this all the time so that my chapter remains a member of this organization. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. And if we already have members, then I don't want to approach those same members.
Well, just ask at a meeting. Raise your hand if you're a member.
As soon as they come.
That's another question. Yeah, the way I track it, annually, I'll send a request to Rich on who in Butte County is a member, paid member to CGJA to maintain that we have the 5 that we need. The dues issue has been an issue with me because I belong to other business organizations where if you join a local chapter, you're automatically a member of the state and the national chapter. I spent 15 years as a JC, which is not a big organization now, but used to be. The problem is that if we try to implement something like that for this organization, we don't go out and hold bake sales or raise money locally. Almost the sole income of a local chapter is the dues, which we keep very low. I think in Butte County, we $20 a year. So that would cut out any option to put on a lunch for the sitting grand jury to get new members.
What are the ranges for chapter dues? I mean, people like 5, 10, 20, 25, 30?
Yep.
I've heard as high as 25, and I know of chapters that have no dues.
Yeah. Donations?
The highest is 25?
That's the highest I know of, but I really don't have a good idea.
30, 30.
We have been for 30 here. 30 in both Marin and Alameda. I guess the Bay Area is expensive.
I also got a donation, and you all might want to think about that too. I got somebody to donate money to our chapter, and they were a candidate who did not win the election and had some money left over due to mismanagement. And so they donated part of that money to our chapter at my request, and that gave us more money.
That's good.
I just want to say how much better we have it now than we did when I joined my chapter in 2004, I think. At that time, the rule was that if you were not a CGJA member, you could not even vote in your chapter. In other words, so that you had to join CGJA, and that gave you the right to vote in your chapter. Well, the flack that CGJA took for that was so monumental that they very quickly changed that rule to where we are today.
Our chapter pulled out.
Except, Joanne just said her chapter pulled out when they did that.
But we're back.
Okay. Anything else anybody wants to say about dues? Everybody likes paying them? Right? Okay. Next item has to do with awards. Criteria for awards for best report and/or best accusation. What are these criteria, and what do we do as chapter members think they should be? I'm not sure, but I suspect this question has more to do with the fact that an accusation is something different, and didn't, because there are criteria. Joanne, you can correct me, or Barbara. There are criteria on the website for those reports, but I guess an accusation doesn't fit very well. So maybe that's what this question was really directed towards. How do we, if, you know, not that we know what chapter did an accusation, but
Such a large crowd.
yeah. So essentially, that sounds like a very specific request, but I think legitimate request, and maybe will engender some discussion. What are the criteria? Are the criteria what they should be, or is an accusation just not fit for these awards? What do people think? I think is a discussion subject. Larry.
Well, what's interesting is in a case that I heard about recently, where there was an accusation, the accusation ultimately did not go through, right? I mean, it just was, got to a certain state, right? And then an individual pled no contest, and okay, the accusation accomplished what it intended to accomplish.
Well, I think that the accusation was completed, but the follow-up action that's independent of the grand jury could have gone forward to, like, there wasn't a trial,
Right.
but the accusation was complete. It was posted, it was published.
The grand jury's role in it
Right.
is finished.
It was a published, it's like a published report. It's not
Okay.
the trial, it's just a report saying that the district attorney needs to consider filing charges, essentially. That's my oversimplification.
Okay, so in that way, it is roughly the equivalent of a report.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think part of the question is, does the, now that we've broken the ice with an accusation, I suspect there might be an opportunity in the state of California to have another accusation in the future. Does our criteria for reports fit accusations?
The criteria doesn't? Does somebody in the award committee want to respond to that?
No.
Okay.
They're quite different. The report criteria, which are listed, the report criteria are listed, and I don't see it having anything to do with an accusation. Maybe I'm missing something.
Well,
I think the point that Ken's making is just that he would like to see recognition of that accusation.
I think the criteria have correctly been modified and tailored to reports. I don't think they've been, no, but it would seem like, and I'm putting emphasis on in the great state of California, there should be more than one acquisition in my lifetime, I would think. But my point is that, okay, so the work product of a grand jury is not just a report, it's also an accusation. Is an accusation, does it merit recognition for its impact on the county? I don't know. Should it be? That's another question.
Yeah, that's something new we haven't thought about or discussed before. Yeah.
I do want to just mention that CGJA is involved almost solely in the civil side of the grand jury. And for example, we don't provide training for on accusations. And I just want to throw out the idea, two ideas. First, that usually awards are given from among a number of candidates, of potential award winners. Accusations are so rare. The last one I heard about before Contra Costa, I think might have been Shasta County's about 15, 18 years ago. So there's not much of a group to choose from. And also, I would not want this association to be seen as rewarding, pushing for or encouraging accusations by giving awards for them. And the reason for that is that does not feel sufficiently neutral to me, because an accusation is a punitive activity. And I would be hesitant for us to be on record as somehow encouraging the filing of accusations. I think Jim made it very clear in his talk today about what a soul-searching activity it is for a grand jury to make a decision to impact somebody's life to that extent. And I don't want anyone to think we're frivolous or not thoughtful about the solemnity and momentousness of the accusation process. So I'd like us to think about that as well. Thank you.
You know, let me suggest an alternative to recognizing accusations. And it may be difficult to do, but perhaps an impact award. You know, some juries actually affect significant change, some reports. And it's not just the quality of the report or meeting certain criteria, it's, you know, what actually happened as a result of it. And that may be a little harder to track down and find, but, you know, an impact like Contra Costa, it's not encouraging the accusation per se, but it's saying, you know, what this jury did and the work they did had a positive effect on the community. So that's just a thought.
Robert?
I'd like to echo that thought and come up with a suggestion is to create an award for outstanding service by any grand jury. And that would enable the award committee to choose anything that had occurred of a unique nature. And it could be impact, or it could be an accusation, or it could be whatever else may be special and unique and deserving of such award. So it may be something like they have at the Oscars. Every now and again they have an award for, and I've forgotten what it is. But they only give it like once every 5 or 6 years. So the thought is you could create an award for outstanding service or accomplishment by a grand jury, and anything could fit underneath that umbrella without it encouraging, as I think Karen has rightly said. I don't think we want to encourage accusations per se.
We have a special
Yeah.
recognition award. We already have a special recognition award, and that kind of generically can cover someone nominating someone in the local press that's done good things for them, or and that the definition of that is on the website. That might be something rather than creating another award. We've got something there, let's use it.
I'll hold you back.
I thought Jim was maybe going to say something about
No,
this.
it was Joanne.
No, but also, isn't this what the award that Jerry Louis is interested in doing? And I think he might be looking for volunteers to help him out.
I don't know.
But I know he was talking about a kind of recognition for impactful reports. So you might want to talk to Jerry.
Okay, so another comment.
With all due respect, you know, I guess the one piece of this conversation that I find troublesome is this notion that we don't want to reinforce the idea of basically doing something that is in the charge of grand juries to do because it's difficult or because it's dangerous. You know, maybe there aren't more because we don't do the training.
It's training.
Yeah.
It's
Is
in
it?
the training.
Oh, good. I misunderstood that. Well, I'm pleased to hear that.
But
Richard? Oh, Mary Ann and Richard.
You know, if you're concerned about, you're talking about.
I wanted to make a recommendation that Bob has already made, that we have a special award for things that don't fit. But I would also like to bring up 1 year ago at the conference in Sacramento, I asked and was told that summaries of all of the ones submitted would be printed, or at least a summary of it, in the journal. And I was told that that would be done. So far, not one has appeared. And I think this is a terrible way to run the journal.
I think, Mary Ann, I think my understanding of that was it would be posted on the website, and it has been posted on the website.
Not on the website, in the journal.
That message didn't get through.
Last year's website.
Okay, Richard?
That's fine, they've always been on the
If we want
website.
to,
But they never, and I just want to summarize.
if we want to include accusations in it, and I think we
Journal
probably
dates
ought
for
to.
articles.
It takes very little rewording of the report award. The criteria says report quality. Now, you know, you can change that to work product quality. Kind of takes care of that. It says, because the criteria for that is legible, documented, succinct, wait a minute, complete and understandable. that same criteria holds true for the two documents. So if you want to do that, change the title of the award and reword the criteria. But to come up with a special award just for that, for those of us that are concerned about, I'm an anti-award person. No, I sit back here and I think, especially last year, listening, you know, you think grand juries are going to put writing reports if they're not going to get awards? I think not. I think the people go and they do the best they can, and they never give a thought about, I'm going to get an award for this or not. I don't think that ever enters their mind. It's nice that a few months later or a year later, somebody recognizes them. I think that's a nice thing. But then to start having to recognize all of them is kind of like, you know, the soccer team, everybody gets a participation award. So I think it's nice that we do it, but if we start giving them to everybody, they start being worthless.
Well, I don't think the suggestion was to give them to everybody. That on the awards, it was that there are certain, more than one, the winner applies for the excellent awards, and the suggestion was to give some publicity to the ones that applied, journal, website, but just recognizing the ones that were considered exceptional by the people that submitted the reports at least.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before that I was a member of the JCs for about 15 years. And if you're not aware of that organization, they give out awards for breathing. Okay? They do a lot of awards, and it encourages participation. But I don't see a need to create a special award for something that happens once every 10 years. We have, Joanne mentioned, we have an award category for special recognition. I think that serves the purpose without changing things.
Comment. I agree. Giving awards is a slippery slope, and you get into more and more of them, and then they become meaningless. The satisfaction of doing a really good report should be the reward in and of itself. I would caution this association to be very careful about getting into more awards.
Okay, I think it's about time to move on to our last of the original 6, which is what can be done